and there was a motivation. And that motivation then came to be known as a Karma Yoga, where you are offering all your activities and actions to the cosmic energy, to the higher force. You call it divine, you call it by any other name, without any return expectations whatsoever. And I discovered that this ashram was in that ancient term a place where you came to offer yourself to the divine, and you took care of all the necessities that had to be taken care of for everybody collectively to live together. And when you talk in terms of prosperity, it is the endeavor in that spirit of non-expected returns, where you really put your best foot forward to give what you have the capacity and capability, and sometimes even go beyond your capabilities and capacities, which is enriching and fulfilling your own life and your own inner consciousness. It also creates a physical prosperity, a physical abundance. And again, I would say that you see it in the ashram. It has farms, it has factories, it has educational institutions, it has a number of activities, and everyone who's involved in that is basically offering their best possible capacities, not expecting anything in return. In other words, they are living models of Karma Yoga. I also understood that this is a dictum that when you offer yourself to the divine has the responsibility to take care of your physical needs. And that is from where the word prosperity came into play as far as the ashram is concerned. And then it was taken into account when it came to Auroville. Because there were no emoluments, there were no wages, there were nothing that offered, but what was offered to you without any condition was food, clothing, and shelter. And Mother in her wisdom named it prosperity, with the theme that when you are contributing without any condition your best of your capabilities, you are creating an abundance, and out of abundance what you are taking as your need, that is your prosperity. So when you take it according to your need and not according to your want, the pot is bigger than what you take it. So that creates abundance and that creates prosperity. And that was the theme that was emphasized constantly all the time for everyone. I'm emphasizing this discussion and this conversation basically in Ashram and Auroville orientation rather than going into a wider circle, for the simple reason that I think it is very, very important for us to understand in Auroville as well why this term prosperity has a very, very strong meaning if we have to go towards fulfilling the vision that the Mother has laid in front of us. Okay. Now a moment came, then a kind of an idea emerged, and that was presented to the Mother in 1970, which eventually came to be known as pour tous, for all. So prosperity translated into a French language means basically the same thing. For everyone, everything is available. But both the prosperity and pour tous ran in parallel, because pour tous was too much of an infant at that time, needed support and all that. But it started providing the necessities from within Auroville rather than necessities coming from Pondicherry. But there were common goals. And then came a moment of disturbance, if I may use the term, that the people living in Auroville had difficulties with the managing group that was given the responsibility of managing this project. So therefore this area of responsibility came onto Puttus. But unfortunately, as we grew into numbers and into sizes, although we did acquire the assets that had been created by the previous group of people who were responsible for this project, we forgot that there was a responsibility also. And that was a responsibility that Mother wanted, that people who take up the organization, they should take the responsibility of providing all the basic needs of the people who have offered themselves for this project. And having forgotten that, today we have a totally different kind of a development in Auroville, where even the people who are young people who aspire to come and join us here have to find money for themselves to live here. The people who are living here have to find the money somehow or the other to contribute. And this prosperity, this share of the abundance has eventually come down to a lower mental level where we call it maintenance. Now, according to me, maintenance is a lowest common denominator rather than an aspiring challenge to us. And I think in this context, we have to see that Auroville takes a new turn in realizing how this prosperity can be built, where we do not go back to the old ways from which we had come, discarding them and looking for a new way of life. And gradually, because we got overburdened by so many circumstantial situations, that we started going back to what we were familiar with. My personal security, my family's personal security. But we forgot that we are here to do the collective. This is the present situation. Can we get out of it? That any city, anywhere in the world, is basically managed by its own citizens. Auroville is an exception today. We have 2,600 Aurovillians, and we have 6,000 people who are providing the necessary services to us. If we consider it in one way, yes, we are sharing our prosperity. And yet, if you look at it in the physical, economic terms, that 6,000 people who are benefiting from us, our activities and so on and so forth, it's a huge outgo of finance. Whilst people within Auroville who have come here to offer themselves completely to Auroville are unable to support themselves. At the same time, we have, in other words, instead of being workers, we have become managers. So we are very happy using that middle class term wherever we come from. We have people to provide us services which are beyond our capacity, or we don't feel that we can perform because we are superior beings. This attitude has created a problem as far as I am concerned in Auroville. Now, if we have to realign ourselves and create that prosperity which is collective and common, we have to see how best the assets we have created, or that assets have been created for us, how can be that brought into play? Because whether we have a moneyless society or whatever, we still need the kind of money, because the world is using the money as an instrument. How do we raise those resources to see to it that within our own parameters, we do not have to worry about the money either for a personal income or for a collective benefit and so on and so forth. According to me, that is the area we have neglected to look at. So therefore, that collective input that has to go into the day-to-day life collectively has been neglected. And in that negligence lies the real reason for us not being able to create an abundance around us. Initially, if you look at it, all that you see around you, this was the first abundance that was created totally unconditionally. If you look at the pictures of that period, this land was totally waste and barren. Okay? And it had to be made fertile enough so that a habitat could be built. Today we proudly say that we have 1.5 million trees. Beautiful. That is an abundance in the nature. It gives us the basis to start life again. It has brought animals, it has brought birds, it has brought all sorts of things which were totally bereft. So there is that abundance that has been created by the goodwill and the effort of the people. And those people you can still are running around bare-bodied most of the time. But after that, what has happened? A, we got attached to our effort and we thought, well, we have done enough, now we can stop. This is one aspect of it. Second is, when we are doing something with a tremendous loving effort and so on and so forth, we also fall in love with it. And what happens at times when we are fallen in love, as they say, love is blind, we start losing the vision of the reason why we have come here. And that vision is basically for us to collectively create a way of life where we can, by collective efforts, individual efforts, not only create a day-to-day normal way of living, but at the same time to create a fraternity which has a real objective to live by values, to show that this world can create a totally new culture, new way of life, new society that can contribute to what we keep on talking about, human unity as such. She gave certain ideas for Auroville's behavior. One of the things she said was that everybody should work for minimum 5 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Let's ask ourselves, how many of us are doing that? Number one. What was that 5 hours a day work? It was work actually that is the need of creating our living environment. Then when the number of people asked, she says, do whatever needs to be done physically, whether it's in terms of farming, whether it's in terms of cooking food, whether in terms of cleaning a place, whether in terms of organizing yourselves, but do something active for the collective. If you are a musician, if you are a singer, you are your talents, you are a painter, do it in all the rest of the time you have it, but 5 hours is for collective. Now, today, this is one of the things I find we have failed to perform. Majority of the people, out of necessity and out of pressures, are busy trying to ensure their own security by offering their talent and work outside Auroville. Because Auroville is not in a position to say, yes, we'll take care of you. Today, you're talking in terms of houses more expensive than in Pondicherry. And you have to pay for it if you're a newcomer or even if you're an Aurovillian. Why? Is this Auroville we came here to build? Sometimes my blood boils when I see that kind of thing. We're commercializing all the activities. We're asking people to pay for it just because they believe in something. No. This was not the intention that the mother had. Never ever. Because we have forgotten that this place is basically to practice values which can be turned spiritual. Values that give us an inner consciousness to decide that as we grow into that consciousness, our needs become less and less and we are comfortable as well. We are not looking at that aspect. We are not looking at that aspect at all, and most of the time we forget it. And I say that Mother gave us a gift which we have not yet fully utilized or even explored. And that gift that she gave it to us is what she called the soul of Auroville. Shall we or shall we not connect with that soul? And in that soul, you look at the 12 petals, just look at those 12 petals, nothing else. Each one is identified with a value: humility, sincerity. These were the connections from where we should take the initiative to come into the day-to-day life and practice these values so that we grow in the inner consciousness, and according to that our needs become less and less, our efforts become much more fruitful, and abundance is created. The basic principle of Auroville was to collaborate with the forces of inner and outer growth. Evolution. The word is evolution. If we are evolving, and if we are evolving consciously, because the place given to the mankind as a starting experiment is Auroville, where we have to evolve consciously, and that is why in that very fond hope, Mother called it as the cradle of the Superman. Why did she have to use these kind of terms? When she knew that people like us haven't even the capabilities and capacities. But she was egging us on, she was giving us a challenge. We have not accepted the challenge because we don't feel that we have that capacity. But if it is an adventure, according to me, then we have to really jump into it and take the leap, because Charter reminds us again and again. Leap forward. Where are we in that leap? I want to ask this question. So prosperity is just that core, according to me, which covers all our aspects, where we have to create abundance. Abundance in material, abundance in thought, abundance in spirituality, abundance in everything. And then out of that, what we draw, according to our needs, that abundance will be sustainable and will carry over to the future generation that come into play, because we're not immortals. But we are those masons and those carpenters who are here to build this future for the children that have to come and become the Aurovillians. We're not even Aurovillians today, but we're so proud in using the title Aurovillian because where are we going? We have brought all those norms and ideas that we have got addicted to, which are part and parcel of the world we left to create a new world. And we are imposing the same ideas and same thoughts today on a project which is supposed to leap into the future. And we have to learn to distinguish between those ideas and our own idea. If we don't do it, we'll end up like any other experiment that has gone its own way, having lost the way. Sorry, thank you very much. I have nothing more to say because this is a feeling, it comes very strongly to me. Because if we look at the Charter seriously, there are no conditions except one. Auroville belongs to nobody in particular. Fine, it's a statement. Auroville belongs to humanity as whole. It's again a statement. The next sentence, what she says, but to live in Auroville, one must be a willing servitor of the divine consciousness. That is the only condition I understand that she's placed on us. Have we ever sat back and realized what does it mean being a willing servitor? What is my responsibility as a willing servitor to perform? And if we start reflecting on it seriously and also build up the link that has been provided, which she calls the soul of Auroville, if we as physically contact that soul, perhaps the answers will dawn on us and we will be able to realign our thinking and perform once again in the fashion that we need to perform to really progressively not grow inwardly but also grow and manifest the vision of Mother. That's how I see it.